Today we'll be responding to the claim of fact that vegetarianism is not healthy. My opponent offered 3 points to support this statement. 1, that there are certain nutrients only found in animal products. 2, vegetarianism can cause adverse health effects. And 3, humans do not have evolutionary traits which allow them to eat strictly vegetarian. However, I would like to refute these claims and state that vegetarianism can be healthy. I will first address the first claim that there are certain nutrients only found in animal products, such as B12, omega-3, and iron. I will refute this with 3 counterclaims. My first counterclaim is that according to the 2010 print copy of Nutrition, a nutrition textbook based on the most recent information available from the USDA, B12 can be found in dairy products, and under my opponent's definition of vegetarianism, some products like these are permissible in the diet. Besides this, B12 can also be found in fortified cereals. Furthermore, doctors advise individuals who have problems getting enough B12 to get it from fortified foods such as cereals and supplements because it is better absorbed from these sources. B12 is also a water-soluble vitamin, so it is absorbed in the liver, which provides a buffer from day-to-day deficiencies. The same text also supports my second counterclaim that omega-3s are well known to be in various oils such as soybean, canola, and flaxseed oils, which actually contain more omega fatty 3 acids than animal sources. My third and last counterclaim on this point is that, which is supported by Dr. Gelberg, Professor of Food and Nutrition, is that iron can be found in lentils, spinach, kidney beans, chickpeas, and fortified foods such as cereals. All these sources are common in the vegetarian diet and are as well absorbed as meat sources when accompanied by sources of vitamin C. I would now like to address my opponent's second claim that vegetarianism can cause adverse health effects. The first adverse health effect that my opponent proposed was osteoporosis. The study that my opponent uses to support this part of the claim directly states that hyperhomocysteine, vitamin B12, and folate deficiency may be regarded as novel risk factors for micronutrient deficiency-related osteoporosis. Simply put, the study found that a deficiency in B12, which I've already demonstrated is avoidable in the vegetarian diet, a deficiency in folate, a vitamin primarily found in foliage, a main food source for vegetarians, and hyperhomocystinemia, an excess of amino acids in the blood, may be regarded as a novel risk factor for osteoporosis. This does not mean that there is sound evidence to support that these deficiencies cause osteoporosis, merely that there is a loose correlation. In the next part of this claim, my opponent claimed that vegetarian carries a higher frequency of depression. The study that he cited seems to be creditable, but it did not control for mental predispositions to depression, nor did it account for other causes of depression, which, as given by a 2011 copy of the psychology textbook, include mental and cognitive disorders, mood and sleep and adjustment disorders, abuse and neglect, and personality traits. Being that there are so many other factors that contribute to depression that are not addressed in this study, it is not grounds for a reliable claim. In his third claim, my opponent proposed humans do not have evolutionary traits that allow them to eat strictly vegetation. My opponent shares research that states that humans have more biological omnivorous characteristics than vegetarian characteristics. It leaves out information from the same article that herbivores, which are vegetarians, also have many similarities to humans. For example, smaller mouths, the need to get vitamin C from the diet, and the fact that we chew our food rather than swallowing large chunks, just to name a few. Furthermore, the information fails to account for various cultures and religions, including the Hindu and some strict Christian sects, who practice vegetarianism and continue to thrive as individuals and cultures. In summary, a vegetarian diet can supply the necessary nutrients. There's no concrete evidence to connect vegetarianism to osteoporosis or depression, and while humans have evolved with characteristics that support meat in the diet, there are many evolutionary traits that also promote a herbivorous lifestyle. And there are many cultures that have practiced vegetarianism for centuries and still thrive, showing that there is little grounds to state that vegetarianism is an unhealthy diet. Thank you.
All right, structurally, everything's easy to follow. On the first point, you've got 3 counterclaims that you're dealing with, so there's not really any response to the advocate's evidence on these particular points, but rather the argument that there are other ways to accomplish these objectives. I think that that's pretty reasonable. Although the dairy products issue, I think, may be questionable depending upon how somebody is practicing a vegetarian diet. Strict vegetarians or even vegans would definitely exclude those sorts of things, and so that would be a little bit problematic. The idea that you could get it through the fortified cereals, I think, needs to be developed a little bit more in order to address that potential issue. The omega-3s, I think you need to give the source citation on that. I'm sure that that's basic factual data. I don't doubt that it's true, but I didn't really get a source citation on that. The iron issue, on the other hand, I did get a good source citation on. On the issue about osteoporosis, I thought that you did a good job challenging the inference that the advocate is making from the evidence that was presented there, and of course applying your argument above that suggests that the problem is the shortage of some of these other vitamins, and that they are available in other places. So I thought that that was a reasonable answer on that. And then I do think that you did a nice job on the depression argument, suggesting that there are all kinds of variables here that probably are not controlled for. I do think that if you looked at the advocate's evidence on that in a little bit more detail, that would make your argument stronger. If you could show us, for instance, what kind of inferences the research was making, and then show that those things that you cite about being contributing factors to depression were not controlled for in that study, I think that that would make your argument a little bit stronger. I can see the relationship that you've got there. And then on the last point, I think that you've got some good general responses on those points that the advocate presented. They're mostly counterclaims. They don't directly attack the arguments that the advocate presented, but instead present additional reasons why we could reach the conclusion that a vegetarian lifestyle is perfectly acceptable for human beings. And I think the last point that you're making is a pretty good one. We got millions of people who engage in this on a daily basis, and they're not suffering. We don't have any demonstration that vegetarians have any higher rates of any of these problems that they're talking about. They seem to be thriving pretty well. Don't want to be disparaging of anything, but it seems like there are plenty of people in India, and I don't know how many of them are vegetarians, but